Okay, so as a follow-up to my last video about Thailand, the remaining soccer players and the coach have been rescued, and this was at the cost of one life. The SEAL diver Saman Gunan, 38 years old, died as a hero trying to bring back the trapped children and their coach. Elon Musk presented his Navy submarine or whatever it is that he was going to use to help get the kids out, but it ended up being useless or not used. They had already figured out a plan that would not require it. And so that just became an example of Elon Musk saying he's going to do something and not actually doing anything. He then released a statement that he was going to go and personally clean all of the water in Flint, Michigan. And until he actually does that, I'm not really interested in what he has to say here. Granted, he's a brilliant, rich man. I understand that. But it is kind of a mean thing to do to just say you're going to do things. Like, I think it was The Onion. I mentioned The Onion before, but they called it the ultimate life hack is to say you're going to do things and then not actually do them. It's sort of like gaining credit for stuff that you haven't actually done. But anyway, it's a happy story, and I'm glad that the young people and their coach are safe. And yet, of course, a situation like this becomes political, and it brings out the worst in everybody. And there is this just insipid New Yorker cartoon. I think it's a New Yorker cartoon. It's in the New Yorker style of cartoons that shows what looks to be Central American immigrants in a detention center with chain link fans sitting on cots, watching a TV that shows the last of the trapped Thai children being returned home. And so, of course, it had to become political. And when I pointed out a few things, I pointed out a few things right away when I saw this image. First of all, that the children who were stuck in a cave were not given steak and egg breakfasts or blankets or TVs to watch the situation of the children in Mexico. Second, I wasn't sure that any of them came under illegal pretenses or their families were criminals according to the state. And I got some flack for that because someone very handily pulled up this New York Times article, which I will link in the description below, which talks about the stateless children, ethnic minorities. And I guess they did enter Thailand illegally. A few of them did, or they are stateless, or it's a situation of an ethnic minority. But it's an ethnic minority that the Thai government, not only the secular government, but it's a monarchy. The monarchy, the Buddhists, the clergy, right? They're all in support of helping this particular group of minorities in their conflict in Myanmar, which doesn't really resemble Mexico that much. I would guess climate maybe, but I haven't been to Myanmar or Mexico. But they certainly don't speak the same language or have the same history or the same relationship as the United States and Mexico, which shouldn't have to be pointed out. While in the cave, those children were not being fed and given blankets and having their identities sorted out. And all of them in that particular group can account for who they are. They know who their parents are. There's no question about that, including many of the children, if not all of them, were polyglots. They could speak multiple languages. And that's not a situation that we're finding in the Mexico border. And of course, right now, the other interesting news item is that the new socialist leader of Mexico is calling for a border wall of his own on his southern border. While at the same time, he ran on a platform saying that Mexicans should break the rule and enter America illegally as sort of an FU to Trump. A lot of anti-Trump derangement syndrome. And we'll get into that next. My next video, I'm going to talk a little bit about London and the World Cup. But anyway, to reiterate, it's wrong to compare the situation in America and Mexico with the situation in Thailand and Myanmar. And from a greater perspective, of course, these children trapped in a cave who were there, everyone knew they were there. They were respected and welcomed by the government before that point, even as quote-unquote stateless citizens. But the important thing is they're all happy, they're all fine, they all survived, apart from this one hero in the rescue operation. Elon didn't send his submarine, and this is just a freak occurrence, and it captured the world's imagination and everyone's hearts, thinking about what it would be like to be trapped in that cave, wondering how to get through it. I did see an interesting article that talked about how meditation, Buddhist meditation, really helped them while they were in the cave. And I think that would be a very vital skill, a very vital thing to do when you're in the cave waiting to be rescued, just to sit and count your breath and enter the, count your breaths and enter the Dharma. I think that was a very smart move and probably contributed to their success over the long, harrowing experience at Tham Luang Cave. Read this article for yourself, but I mean, it still doesn't disprove what I said. Like the other point I mentioned is that these children aren't the children of criminals. Well, okay, some lefty pointed out, well, they were stateless, and I guess that is kind of like being a criminal or something. But no, these children were polyglots, and they were there through churches, through their monasteries, watched over by the king, protected by the king as an ethnic minority within Thailand. And monarchy is not the same as a democracy, and it is not the same situation. But that said, I'm very thankful for the miracle at the cave, that everyone was rescued, and it's a shame that we're politicizing it, but in the current state of affairs, of course, everything gets political. And watch me as next I am going to politically take apart last night's World Cup match. Over and out.